here's a picture. If you guys see, this is me and a couple of the guests. That was a lot of fun. For 2026 in Detroit, we've got something brand new. For the first time ever, Law Tech Connect is embedded directly in Exponential, which is really great because we always did it like on a Monday. This means instead of being a standalone Monday event, we'll take over Wednesday afternoon and Thursday morning. So it'll be 2 days for 4 hours each day, plus a Wednesday evening happy hour. Even better, anyone in the full or VIP Exponential Conference Pass can attend all our sessions this year at no extra cost. That's a big thing and big win. And I think we'll definitely be getting a lot more attendees. And if you want to save some money, you can register directly through Law Tech Connect, just $249 early bird. Get that access. And then here's the link for the co-located Law Tech. Both days of Law Tech Connect workshop, the Expo Hall, which, by the way, is a great way of networking. If you haven't been there, that's usually my go-to first. And our networking happy hour with drinks, food, and great conversation. Again, just the happy hour itself is great to actually sit down with some of your colleagues or people that you haven't met to do some networking because it does get a little bit busy during the week. So they're going to drop here. They're dropping the social networking event. So you can also register for that. That's important because it's kind of 2 registrations saying that you're going to be at both events. Next, let's go to, in this episode, we're going to give you a quick glimpse of the panels 1 through 4. There's 8 panels, but this is 1 through 4, all happening Wednesday afternoon. These panels bring together top experts in law, technology, policies to explore issues shaping the future of autonomy and advanced systems. And this year is a big year for changes. You know, everyone knows about AI and new rulings. So this is always packed with information in one event. Whether you're returning as attendee or brand new to the community, this panel or this place where the legal, policy, and tech world meets, and you won't want to miss it. Really, I that's why this is my 5th year, and I've gone every time. I make sure I don't miss it. So stick around, listen in, and most importantly, register now for the Law Tech Connect 2026 at Exponential in Detroit. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it's going to be in Detroit. So I wanted to move to kind of tell you what's going on. Panel 1 is moving targets, navigating shifting government priorities and autonomy and robotics context, and it's all about winning in the government autonomy marketplace. Representing this panel, we have HK law partner Joel Roberson. And I wanted to make sure, Joel, I didn't say Robertson, it's Roberson. Please introduce yourself. Absolutely. Big changes. Yeah, Joe, big changes. And we'll go a little bit more in detail. So stay tuned. Joe's going to have an opportunity to kind of dive in a little bit more about the panel. But next, I want to introduce you to panel two. And this is Choctaw Nation of Oklahoma. We have James Grimsley. I've known James for 15 years. So, James, this panel, Building the Future, Legal Frameworks of Global AAM and eVTOL Operations and Infrastructure, dives into the real world rollout of advanced air mobility and eVTOLs. James, tell us a little bit about yourself and your background.
Sure. First, Holly Toe, which is Choctaw for hello. So Holly Toe on behalf of the Choctaw Nation. And I do want to say, Maggie, anybody that's known me for years that still talks to me, I'm always, that makes me feel good. So yeah, we've known each other a long time, and it's a good almost a close-knit community that we have in emerging aviation. It's pretty neat. So we're going to be talking about some interesting things that really excite me, because a lot of the stuff that we're seeing in emerging aviation also sits closer to the fault lines of federalism, where we start to see those intersections between different forms of government, between private, public, things like that. So we're going to be talking a little bit about that, primarily how eVTOL, electric vertical takeoff for landing aircraft, will either be impacted by those things or will impact those things. So a lot of times we lump UAS and we lump eVTOL and we lump it all together. But the reality is that we have distinctly different regulatory paths that are very unique.
Absolutely.
And sometimes it's going to look more like traditional aviation. Sometimes it will look like emerging aviation. So the big things that we see, commonalities we see between both of those, is that we do have transportation crises on the horizon. We've outgrown our road networks. We've built our road networks too big that we can't maintain. But even with that, we still have a lot of areas of congestion where we can't continue to expand to meet capacity and meet that future demand. And so we desperately need to adopt these other modes, especially taking advantage of the 3D ability, the 3D space rather than the 2D space for transportation, especially in urban areas. But even in rural areas, we have similar issues with access to things. So we'll look at that. There's a lot of interesting things that come into play when we're looking at eVTOL, especially in urban areas where we're looking at zoning issues. We're looking at the things that have always triggered the debate between a local community and our aviation community and the federal government, things like noise. How will that be different with eVTOL when we see vehicles that are showing promise to be much quieter? What does that change in terms of where we now think we can fly and land? We'll talk about things like weather, because they're the ability to accurately predict and consistently predict weather in urban environments and things like urban canyons. It's going to be very important for how we start to operate eVTOL on some sort of consistent basis within those areas. But we will also talk about, and this is important, we'll talk about the social acceptance and the social issues, the generational impacts of how people are looking at technology and looking at things that fundamentally change how we transportate, or how we transport, how we move things around, and fundamentally impact that.
But then so quick question, James. Are you going the panel itself? I mean, it sounds like there's a lot to cover in this panel.
Yes.
Are you going to dive into some of the solutions also, or just?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. And I think that that's really important for everyone to know, to really, tune in. And if you can't be there live, we are going to be recording this like we've done several years. So let's move on to panel 3. I know that autonomy business from a legal, financial, and operational risk. And to talk about this is Michael Bauer from ESI, which, by the way, Michael, tell us what ESI stands for. The panel is tilted in guardrails for innovation, liability and risk management, and autonomy and robotics. Michael, give us a little bit of your bio, please.
Hi, thank you, Maggie. So my name is Michael Bauer, and I'm with Engineering Systems Incorporated, or ESI as we're called. And so basically, I'm an aerospace engineer, graduated from Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University out in Prescott, Arizona, so fly Eagles. And what I do is, in my day job, is I provide engineering expertise, and I really deal with accident aircraft investigation, which includes anything from flight data recovery, flight path reconstruction, system and component failure investigations. But prior to that, I was an accident investigator with the National Transportation Safety Board for 13 years, where I looked at aviation accidents anywhere from small commercial drones through general aviation to commercial aircraft. So basically Cessna 150s to Boeing 747s, and also delved into the world of commercial spacecraft, working on accidents involving uh, Virgin Galactic, SpaceX, stuff like that. And while I was with the NTSB was when I'll say the drone revolution sort of started with scene documentation and that. So me and my colleague kind of started it off, and I helped him a lot with getting our drone program set up for a federal government related drone program. And then with my company currently with ESI, I'm our chief drone pilot. So basically I'm in charge of 25 pilots. So I make sure that our pilots are properly trained, that they follow the FAA regulations, which is an ever evolving, changing world.
Forever.
And then it's also to make sure we provide the highest quality drone products for our clients. We get a lot of data. We do a lot of stuff. We want to make sure we work in the legal realm. So we want to make sure everything's done properly and pure regulations. And we also want to reduce that liability and risk for our clients when we're out doing jobs, which is something that I'll cover in a little bit when we start talking about panel 3.
And again, Mike, I do think that it's important that, and I'm sure you're going to touch a lot on that, is just the solutions. Because, we, in this industry, we know the problems, we know the challenges, but how are we going to fix them is really the main thing. So I'm looking forward to hearing that. Last but not least, Alicia McConnell from Rawlins Consulting is here to talk about panel 4, State of the States, Volume 3. Now, we've done States of the States for, obviously, 2 times, and it's been a very successful panel. So we're, continuing to do it. So which showcases the state level playbooks for drones and AAM readiness. Can you please introduce yourself, Alicia?
I'd be happy to, and thanks for having me. So Alicia McConnell, I'm with Rollins Infra Consult, and I'll give a little background on myself and then kind of lead into a little bit about the panel. I started my career as a civil engineer, so working mainly for state DOTs, doing transportation facilities, anything from rural highways to interstate interchanges to salt storage sheds. So a few years into my career, I earned my private pilot's license and I fell in love with aviation. Coincidentally, that was at the exact time, so 2016, when commercialization of UAS was starting to become a topic of conversation at DOTs. So talk about being in the right place at the right time. And so using some of my transportation engineering training and my newfound aviation training, I used both of those worlds to kind of help DOTs create policies around using UAS for transportation related data collection and integrating it safely into the airspace. You couldn't just Google, give me a UAS checklist at that point, because there were none. So fast forward 10 years and I find myself in the same position with advanced air mobility. So being tied to the DOTs early in my career, understanding the way that we kind of integrate new technology. And, I was a surface transportation engineer. There's a lot of things kind of get overlooked whenever you start talking about aviation. Oftentimes aviation is a different agency, maybe not part of the DOT. So marrying those two together, being that connective tissue, is where I really find a lot of value in what we do for DOTs. So the State of the States panel, kind of ties together a lot of the states that we work with and that, Rawlins is associated with. And, from a professional sense, I think all the other panelists could probably agree, it's kind of a small world for advanced air mobility UAS. It is growing at this point, but, the people with expertise and passion to really pursue this, to make it, translating it from an emerging technology into a reality, it takes a lot of effort and a lot of people pulling in the same direction. So
totally agree, Alicia. Yeah. I think one of the things is, even 5 years ago, there was still the general public not even knowing what drones are all about. And absolutely. I think, with the war and with, even the news, covering more drone activity. I think that now that everyone is aware what drones are, but how to use them, I think is the next step. So I think I'm really looking forward to panel 4. I think you guys are going to have a lot of great insight. Let's go back, if you don't mind, to Joel, because my program said he couldn't hear him. So let's go back, Joel, if you don't mind doing another 30-second elevator pitch, if you don't mind, just so if we've missed anything. I just want to make sure everyone is aware of what's going on with panel 1. Joel, are you there? I guess he's not. Okay, well, we'll get back with Joel. Let's see if we can hear Joel talking about moving targets, navigating shifting government priorities and autonomy, robotic contracts. To kick off this, it's a privilege for me to introduce Joel Roberson, a partner of Holland and Knight. This year, talk about his panel, the first one of day 1, which is Wednesday. By the way, we also want to thank AK Law, is one of our silver sponsors of Law Tech Connect. And for that, we are very grateful. So Joe, can we hear you? Are you back? If not, we're going to move on to panel 2. Joe? Okay, sorry about this, you guys. Let's go ahead, if you don't mind, James, let's go ahead and talk again about panel 2, building the future, legal frameworks for global AAM and eVTOL operations and infrastructure. Next up, let's talk to James, representing the Choctaw Nation of Oklahoma, one of the 2 newest designated FAA test sites. By the way, congrats on that, James. That's a big thing. And by the way, I've been there, so it is the location in Oklahoma, Durant, Oklahoma, is very impressive. So the Choctaw Nation is one of our friends of Law Tech Connect sponsors, by the way. Thank you, James, for your support. And again, this year. So go ahead. Let's talk about building the future, legal frameworks of global AAM and eVTOL operations and infrastructure.
Sure. One of the things that we can expect between now and Law Tech Connect is probably we'll see the announcement of the selection of the EIPP sites. And so, as you all remember, back in 2017, there was a presidential memorandum that created the IPP, the Integration Pilot Program for UAS. And now, as part of the executive orders last summer, we have one that creates the EIPP, the eVTOL Integration Pilot Program. So we're anticipating probably 5 sites selected where it's almost like the original IPP. The White House expects things to happen very quickly. There was a 90-day short fuse with IPP, and the same thing will be happening with the EIPP, and that we'll be seeing some stuff happen very, very quickly. The benefit of that is that we get to see it's sort of like a rapid prototyping. Let's go apply this, see what kind of issues we start to run into, but let's accelerate this. And so we're going to see a lot of press, a lot of attention, and a lot of public exposure to eVTOL in the next 6 months between now and Law Tech Connect. But the future the future is pretty bright. We have a lot of challenges, just like eVTOL, like everything else. We have battery chemistry limitations we have to overcome, all sorts of things. But I believe the future is very, very bright. And I see the horizon, the way things are converging, especially technology, the way policy is converging, the way social acceptance and social interest is converging. I think the future is going to be very bright for emerging aviation.
Well, not only that, but with the new policies and regulations and trying to stay on top of that, I'm sure that there's a lot of juggling with that, James.
Yes. Well, we always have a challenge with policy keeping pace with technology and technology development, how we're advancing and how we're improving and raising maturity of systems we're designing now is faster than ever before. And we still have regulatory processes that are based upon it takes 10+ years to develop an aircraft, and that's no longer the case anymore.
We're kind of fading in and out on that too. So By the way, I just wanted to mention James is on the Dawn of Autonomy podcast. That's going to be February 2026. So if you want to hear more information on Choctaw Nation and what they're doing, that is a great podcast to join and listen to. So thanks, James, for always telling us a little bit more about what's going on at the Exponential Law Tech Connect. We always enjoy your conversation with you. Next is panel 3, Guardrails for Innovation, Liability and Risk Management in Autonomy and Robotics. What this panel is going to be focused on is digging into how companies can innovate with drones, robots, and autonomy systems without inviting legal, financial, or safety disasters. It brings together legal, insurance, operations experts to unpack where liability really sits when something goes wrong, and how safety management systems and strong documentation can prevent accidents. Also, not only prevent accidents, but if there is an accident, we all know that if an accident happens, we go back with our team, evaluate what we can do for next time or how we can prevent it. So that's really important. So it's how to weave in cybersecurity, data protection, and IP safeguards from day one. So talk about this. We have Mike Bauer, an expert in ESI, who has a background with NTSB. ESI is one of our scholar programs sponsors this year. So thank you again for that, Mike.
Mm-hmm.
So go ahead and tell us a little bit. Let's dig into a little bit about what panel 3 is going to be talking about and what you're excited about in regards to the topics.
Yeah. So thank you again, Maggie.
Sure.
Like I say, just for being a part of accident investigations and conducting them, there's a lot that as an investigator that we dig into an operation when there's been an incident or an accident. And for example, in commercial operations, there's an expectation of training records or flight logs or pilot logs and operation manuals. And if you have a safety management system that you use as a policy and you practice for your quality of your operation. This also has policies that include data integrity management. I mean, we're, operators out there, even like us and others, you're producing a lot of data that's extremely valuable. You're gathering photogrammetric data that you want for civil projects that a client uses, which is, I'm going to say, extremely valuable. How do you protect that information? So what policies and procedures do you have in place to make sure that you reduce any risk of liability or exposure in the event of a data breach or an incident or an accident?
Can you tell us a little bit about what to expect in the panel, the experts there, what they're going to be talking about, and maybe tell us a little bit, Mike, that what hasn't been addressed that you're looking forward to addressing on your panel?
Sure. We have a great set of panelists. We have Nate Ernst and Juan Plaza that have an experience in operations and setting up organizations. We also have Jennifer Ambrose, Ann Borkovic, and Jacob Carter. They're going to discuss the legalities and the compliance side of operations and stuff like that, just to name a few of their extensive capabilities and experience. And basically, keeping up with this technology is very tough. Every year there seems to be advances that give us new operational and legal hurdles. Some of these examples can be as easy as BVLOS, FAA Part 108, which seems to be ever changing and an ever revolving comment period. We also have AI that's being extensively used. And how can we have success in this industry when you need to make sure that you stay on top of these legal safety and security aspects that you can protect yourself as an operation or your clients? Now, just to add, one way of doing that is many operators use an aviation safety style management system, because this system provides that framework that includes the policies and the procedures, and that they can determine the hazards in their operation. They can assess that risk, and then they can put in proper controls. And this has been used in aviation for a long time. It's been, you see it extensively. And it basically creates this cycle of continuing improvement that helps prevent accidents. It improves your safety record, And also at the same time, which is a great thing, it's reducing your liability and your risk that you may have in your operation.
So bottom line, listeners can come away with a practical framework for structuring contracts, insurance, safety practices, so their autonomy program are defensible in court, insurable. And unfortunately, we do have court issues, law issues, and a lot of the courts bringing up issues with the use of drones. And obviously, we're seeing in the news right now, big AI. Is it safe, and how is it being used? So insurable, insurable in the market, and resilient in the real world. As we mentioned earlier, ESI is supporting our scholarship program. That means having students, law students mostly, that actually can come to this program, because I think it's really important that they understand this industry. And we can also, that a scholarship will help people apply for the scholarship so that they could actually attend to this program. So thanks again, Mike, for joining us today and sharing a bit about the risk panel and your thoughts about Law Tech Connect. All right, let's move to panel 4, State of the States, number 3. Last, but certainly not least, today we have Alicia McConnell from Rawlins Consulting, LLC. Alicia has been a scholar and now a scholarship program supporter, which again means that we're going to have some students that Rawlins supports and sponsors so that they can attend. So Alicia, you're back. Thank you. I really appreciate it. What keeps you coming back year after year and bringing others with you for this program?
Yeah, whenever I first started attending some of the Law Tech Connect sessions, I will be honest, I wasn't entirely sure, what the content would be, but now it's a can't miss session or can't miss program for me.
Yeah, I agree.
The State of the States obviously is of great interest to me. I'm a captured audience hearing the other two gentlemen on the call speak. It's just such great information that we really can't miss. And then late last year, Dawn attended the Tennessee Drone and AAM Symposium, in which Rawlins helped support the DOT. They were master of ceremonies for it. And there were a lot of the same panelists that are going to be on this panel in attendance at that particular symposium. So we kind of put our heads together, and you'll see on the panel, there's a breadth of experience. States are at kind of different areas in their maturity for drones and AAM. So your audience members will get to see, kind of a breadth of experience and how each state is approaching their readiness.
Can you tell me a little bit about why you're so passionate about the state level involvement in the drone and the AAM industry?
Absolutely. And you probably heard part of it during my introduction, but I really like helping state DOTs succeed. They're in a position to have such a substantial impact on the traveling public, and they're chock full of transportation experts. So using drones to make data collection safer on construction sites during bridge inspections, surveying and mapping, even during post-disaster assessments, has been a game changer for reducing personnel at risk, their exposure to hazards, and making the entire process more efficient. The quality of data is oftentimes better too when done appropriately. And whether you're looking at kind of the integration of some of these DOTs, translating some of that drone and UAS experience to the transportation facilities, meshing that with our, I'll call them aerial transportation facilities, whether it's vertiports, drone ports, urban settings for moving people and goods, and even utilizing some of our existing infrastructure at GA airports. DOTs are going to be a critical component of adding those multimodal facilities that make all of this new infrastructure or, retrofitted infrastructure accessible to our traveling public. So I'm passionate about making sure that these DOTs succeed and they have a seat at the table, and that their role is somewhat clearly defined, making sure that they have a say in how these things get implemented into both surface transportation and aerial transportation.
I will tell you, Alicia, I know that last year there was an incident where a drone program actually was able to detect a hairline fracture on a bridge, but it was critical because it could have gotten a lot worse and obviously been a catastrophe. And the fact that, they're utilizing drones now and they're able to really get underneath some of these structures to actually see damage that they wouldn't have been able to see if they just hung a man over the over the bridge to check out. So I think
you're speaking my language here. So
yes.
I cut my teeth flying drones on bridge inspections.
Yes.
We just published an AASHTO guideline for state DOTs to utilize drones for element level data collection for bridge inspections. So those use cases and advancing those use cases and continuously finding better technology, better skills, identifying some of those pilots that can really collect that data in a meaningful way, that is incredibly valuable for DOTs, and it just keeps progressing.
On your panel, could you just highlight a little bit about who's going to be speaking with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got participants and panelists from Oklahoma, Texas, Alabama, Tennessee. We might be helping represent Tennessee on that front. Legal expert Joshua Turner, and it's moderated by Airspace Link CEO Michael Helander. So on that front, and I'll just kind of dive into some of the DOT personnel. There are some unique perspectives that I had mentioned. For example, JD with Alabama has a UAS program that is probably one of the best in the nation. They're a well-oiled machine. He's got a crew that travels all across Alabama doing data collection for construction sites, surveying and mapping. And they really leaned into that safety management system and being able to train their pilots to do that data collection cleanly and efficiently. Sergio was overseeing Texas's UAS program. He implemented an incredible training program that is the envy of pretty much every state, because it is an extensive program and it really prepares his remote pilots to help the state scale their drone data collection capabilities. Texas recognized the rapid growth of AAM and recently created an emerging aviation technology position to proactively integrate some of the new emerging technologies and aircraft, and Sergio was able to step into that position. Ryan at Tennessee DOT was recently hired into the drone and AAM team lead position for similar reasons. TDOT Aeronautics saw the need for structure across their department and to integrate drones in a meaningful way across the other divisions as well as the entire department, and then to have somebody provide a vision and a direction for AAM in the state. So Ryan's doing a great job there. And then Doug, recently I had the pleasure of going to the showcase that Oklahoma put on for the NASAO multi-state AAM collaborative in Oklahoma City. And it was so impressive to see how their legislative support and their aviation advocacy in that state has pushed their program to new heights, pun intended. You're
speaking James' language right now. I know he's got goosebumps right now. So he's been a part of the Oklahoma and the drone programs, but he's if you're talking about drones and innovation and he now getting into emerging AI, James is usually involved in Oklahoma. So thank you. It doesn't seem like we've got Joel back on a panel one. So if you guys will let me indulge just a little bit on Joel's behalf. Panel one is going to be moving targets, navigating shifting government priorities and autonomy and robotic contracts. So how shifting NDAA restrictions and Chinese drone bans are reshaping which autonomy and robotic companies can compete in government contracts. I personally have been working with Meadowlark, and they are a company that actually manufactures drone here in the U.S. And I know that's one of their priorities is making it accessible. Unfortunately, we do rely a lot on Chinese drones, even with the public safety. So that's going to be a big issue. Next, I wanted to talk about why compliance and evolving rules from supply chain origin to cybersecurity, because obviously cybersecurity, the CMMC 2.0 is now a core element of capture strategy, not just back and end paperwork. So what I'm trying to say in this, they're going to be addressing, what the challenges are, because there are some bans, specifically with Chinese. Then the practical tips for structuring SBIR, STTR, or OTA. Yes, I know all these acronyms, but and prototype agreements. So companies protect IP and data rights while staying attractive to federal, state, and local buyers. As you all know, government's about security, making sure that the information that we're capturing with our drones is protected and are not available to bad actors. And then how to read the fine print of RFPs, flow down clauses, and grant funding procurement so that you don't get disqualified for hidden compliance traps. This is really key. I mean, if you're a company that want to attract or capture contracts with the government, you really need to know exactly what the drones, what government is requiring, and just like anything else, when you've got a resume, you got to know all the key points, what they're looking for. Overall roadmaps for building legal and business agility into autonomy and robotic offerings so that they can keep pace with the radically moving government priorities. I mean, with this new government right now, with our president and administration, there are a lot of challenges, but I think they're also opening up a lot of doors so that here companies that are involved in the drone programs, I think there's a lot of opportunities. And I want to invite my three guests that are still on right now, why you feel like panel one is so important. So if you don't mind, I'm going to start with Mike. Since we don't have Joe speaking for us, can you tell us a little bit of why you think panel one is so important and what you're looking forward to hearing?
So, to me, the biggest thing to talk about with panel one is these NDAA restrictions.
Yeah.
It's a huge, I'll say, game changer for small businesses, making sure we have quality products that can perform to the same level that we already have.
Mm-hmm.
Part of the things I know we deal with is making sure we're not set back with technology. I mean, we have technology that helps us get our job done for what we need to. And if we have to spend a lot more money to get new technology that might not be as comparable, now that cost gets brought on to our clients.
Well, it's definitely an issue, Mike.
And it's something that we have to deal with. Yeah. So yeah. I'm really interested to hear what panel one has to say about these issues, because it does affect a lot of business.
What do you think, James? What are you looking forward to for panel one to hear?
I'm always intrigued with, if you think about the beginnings of aviation, I like how Michael Kratsios in the Office of Science, Technology Policies, the White House describes it. The Wright brothers technology was born in the wild. Today it's born in captivity. And we really can't do much planning. And we can't just dream like an engineer anymore unless we start with some sort of regulatory understanding and things and where it fits in the law. So I think that grounding is super important. And that's what I'm hopefully going to be able to get more of appreciation from panel one.
I totally agree. What about you, Alicia?
Yeah. So one of the things that you said resonated. There's a lot of changes happening, but with those changes comes opportunity. Sometimes it feels chaotic and we spend a lot of time untangling some of the information, but there is a lot of opportunity here. With that ban, while it presents significant hurdles, it also presents the opportunity for us to learn about American-made technology, integrating it. We are in a place where we need to understand how some of these sensors are going to function, integrated with certain drones that are made in America. And sometimes they do get overlooked just for cost effectiveness, but it's kind of pushing us in a certain direction to utilize this new technology, give some American companies a little bit of a boost there. And, for NDAA compliance, there's the American Drone Securities Act, then FCC. There's a lot of players, and I would love to hear that panel kind of get into the complexities of all of that, evaluate it a little bit like a matrix and, provide the audience some insight and guidance as to how to move forward in a meaningful way.
I agree, and I do look forward to kind of the checks and balances. What do we need to do to qualify for government contracts? I think there is a false belief that we can't do things as cheap as other countries, and I think. Being involved with at least Meadowlark, I see that there are opportunities and cost efficient ways of building drones, aircrafts here in America and making them accessible. But of course, the challenges is, like Mike said, I mean, the challenges is cost too. Not just are we capable of making them, but can we make them with the budgets that are allocated to like safety, the police department. They have a budget, and the budget that they had for this year was planned last year when they didn't have the tariffs and the restrictions, and now that they do. So I'm looking forward to hearing a little bit more about that. Let's end the program. I'm going to start with Mike, if you don't mind. Mike, tell us how to contact you. And you're going to be there at Exponential. I want everyone to know that if you haven't been to Exponential, if you want to reach out to our guest speakers today or anyone on the panel, reach out to them previously. Set up a time where you can sit down and talk to them and have a little one-on-one. That's the opportunity, at least I find, that's very beneficial at Exponential. So, Mike, again, how do we contact you, and if there's any closing remarks?
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to Exponential again. It's going to be the 4th or 5th time I've gone. I've gone to it a bunch of times. Plus LTC, this is my 4th one. I think I only missed one for another reason. But I can be reached at my email address, which is mkbauer@engssys.com. And kind of like you mentioned, Maggie, I'm going to be there for the full tour while we're there. So feel free to reach out. I love to meet people in the drone industry. I love to talk about policies, procedures, even, talking about kicking 10 with the NTSB. I'm available to talk and network. And I'm glad to meet anybody to talk in this great industry. So I'm looking forward to it again. It'll be a fun time in Detroit.
I agree. James, what about you?
You can reach me at Grimsley, JGRIMSLEY @ChoctawNation, all one word.com. So jgrimsley@ChoctawNation.com. I was going to Exponential before it was Exponential, so many, many years ago, and actually started the state AUVSI chapter many, many years ago. So looking forward to it. Lots of friends, lots of new friends, lots of old friends. But I've been working with Dawn for several years. Great lady and just great colleague in the industry. Yes. Looking forward to another Law Tech Connect. So,
are you going to be speaking at any other session other than Law Tech Connect?
I don't think so. Okay. I'm probably the worst person to ask. I don't think so. I don't even know what I'm doing tomorrow with my schedule. I don't think so, but we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Great. What about you, Mike? I didn't ask you. Are you going to be speaking at any other panels or any other than Law Tech Connect?
No, I'm only at Law Tech Connect this time around, and then I'm just going to be wandering the expo halls and all the other stuff and just taking it all in.
Always a great time. Just bring some good shoes. Alicia, can you tell us how to connect with you and any last comments? Are you going to be speaking in any other panels?
Yeah. So I think it was on the screen there, but it's Alicia, ALICIA @Rawlins IC, not Rawlings like the ball glove manufacturer. The G.
Sorry.
No problem. And I'll be there. I'm really looking forward to attending. I'm actually moderating a panel on Part 108, Part 146, notice of proposed rulemaking, with some of the same panelists that will be part of Law Tech Connect, but with the addition of Robin Grace from Massachusetts. So JD, Sergio, Robin, and then Paul Wheeler, who's also with Rawlins Infra Consult and came from Utah DOT. Has an aviation background as well. So we'll be kind of diving into that notice of proposed rulemaking and the effects it could have on DOTs and consultants and those contributing to, the efforts, including beyond visual line of sight. So should be great.
It's going to be great, as always. Stay tuned next month for part 2. So this was 1 through 4, and then we've got 5 through 8. This is going to be the one that's going to be on Tuesday, March 31st, 11 a.m. Eastern time. So don't forget to sign up now while early bird prices still apply. So if you don't already have your VIP or all access to Exponential, then make sure that you at least sign up for the early bird to participate in the Law Tech Connect. So plan ahead. Remember, our networking social event is Wednesday, May 14th from 7 to 9. There's going to be food and drinks, and of course, the best time to network and sit down with some of our guests. Be sure to be there to meet these incredible folks and others like them in person and continue the important conversation and connections. The producer right now is going to drop a link to the co-location for Law Tech Connect. So that's really important. Let's see here. So the social marketing tile, he's going to put that up there. Again, information. Reach out to Dawn directly if you want in LinkedIn. My contact information is my email is maggie@yourareaview.com. Be happy to answer any of your questions. I guess that's really all. I'm sorry that we unfortunately had dropped Joel for some reason. We had some technical issues, but tried to cover a little bit more about what he's talking about. Joel, we look forward to seeing you at the Exponential. So other than that, we want to thank you for joining us today. I wanted to thank Dawn for letting me host today's program and wish everyone a great day. Thank you.
Everyone, thank you.
Thank you.